There's 4 ways to own property in Hawaii. What are they? What do they mean? We'll talk about that up next. Hello friends, if you buy property in the state of Hawaii, there are 4 ways that you can legally own the property, and they're very important to know and think about before you buy the property. So when you're in that situation and you could be stressed and a lot of pressures on you, you're not trying to figure this out or consult an attorney with not a lot of time to think about it. So I'm going to go through these 4 different ways to own property, and they're very important because they can affect the way that you can sell the property. They can affect the way that they are passed on to your heirs or the other co-owners' heirs, and that again, then you need everybody to agree in order to sell a property. So there's a lot of different implications in terms of how you own property, how you take title, as we say, or tenancy is the word for it. So I am not a estate planner or an attorney, so definitely you want to consult somebody that is a professional in this area if you are unsure of what you should do and what your best situation is. But I'm going to give you a quick overview of the 4 ways that you can own property in the state of Hawaii. So the first one is tenancy and severalty, and that's very simple. If you're a single person, that's how you take title, is tenancy and severalty. You're the only one on title. You can buy and sell it. You don't need anybody else's permission, and if you die or something happens to you, that property will be passed on to your heirs through your estate, however you have that set up. So that one is pretty simple. The second one is tenancy in common. So if this is if you have multiple owners who are going to buy a piece of property and own it fully together. You can have 2 or more people. This is the way a corporation or a business would purchase property. And in this case, the property would pass to the person's heirs. So if myself and my friend bought property and I passed away, my portion of the ownership, and that can be equal 50-50, or it can be specified in the deed 25-75, whatever you decide on, my portion that I own would pass to my heirs as stated in my will or my estate. And so the person co-owning with me would not automatically get that unless that was part of my estate, is that person would get the property after I pass. So that's a very important consideration in terms of how you take title as multiple people, because each person can individually mortgage their portion of the property, sell their interest in the property, and it's subject to creditors. So if you get into debt or you get foreclosed on or you declare bankruptcy, your portion of the property is subject to that and then can affect the property overall and the other owners. So you definitely want to take that into consideration. The other way that you can own property with other people is joint tenancy. And joint tenancy means that we own it together in equal shares. So if there's 2 of us, it's 50-50. If there's 3 of us, it's 33-33-33, and so on and so forth. And so with joint tenancy, the property stays within the owners. So if I pass, it automatically goes. There's a right of survivorship is what it's called. It'll automatically go to the other people who are on title with me, and then they absorb my share of the property. So if there's 3 of us and we were all 33-33-33 and one passes, the other 2 then become 50% owners in the property. It doesn't automatically pass to your heirs. It stays within the other co-owners of the property. So that's joint tenancy. Very important note on that, corporations and businesses cannot own property in joint tenancy. They have to own it in tenancy in common. The last one is tenancy by the entirety. And that one's pretty simple too, because it applies only to married couples. So if you are a husband and wife, you take title as tenancy in the entirety. And if one passes, you have the right of survivorship. You both equally own the property and it passes to the other person automatically, unless otherwise specified in a will. But it's a good way to ensure that the property is owned, it stays within the family, and then you still do require both people to sign. So both owners cannot sell the property on their own. They have to sign together in order to sell the property. So that's tenancy by the entirety. Joint tenancy is you own them together, but it goes to the other owners if you pass. Tenancy in common is joint owners and it goes to your heirs. It doesn't pass to the other owners. And then tenancy and severalty is if you own property by yourself. So that's a quick overview of tenancy, something to think about, especially if you're getting into business or buying property with someone other than a spouse and you want to figure out the best way to purchase. If you're buying with a sibling, maybe tenancy joint tenancy makes sense because if you pass, you want your sibling to get it. But if you're buying with a business partner or something like that, you may want to look at tenancy in common. So then you can pass that property on to your heirs if you pass. So lots to think about. One of the many complicated parts of real estate, but hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, let me know. And again, thanks for watching. Aloha.